welcome to Postcast Fish Talk, episode 8. I am Rachel Post.
Brian Post.
And tonight we've got Kyle Norsetter.
How's everybody doing? Kyle Norsetter.
Pretty good. Getting geared up for the 2025 season. I know I've been in the shop most of this afternoon and this evening redoing graphs because mine was still under the old rules. I had too many inches of grass for the opens this year, so I was redoing everything on that end, and I got it all to work, but my touchscreen's not currently a touchscreen, so I got to troubleshoot something. I'm not really sure what I did wrong yet. So, but there was some cussing, there was some hollering, there's some fiberglass slivers. There was a couple take apart and redos, but I think I got everything hooked up correctly. I don't know what I got turned off. So, what about you? How's your preparation for the 2025 season looking?
All my graphs and units are dialed in as of right now. Hopefully, we're going to find out next week when we put it back on the water. So when I went down to pre-fish for Ray Roberts to kind of learn the lay of the land, of course, being like last year, Toledo, Fork, and everything else, those timber lakes are really critical. To be honest, I truthfully try to, like I just said a second ago when we were talking before we hopped on, I like to drop the boat in the water before too much research and just get a grasp. Just learning how to even run and navigate it, even if there's not timber, knowing where things are, buoy markers, shallow. You can study it on the graph, but you just don't get a real feel for it until you're actually in that driver's seat and trucking it along,
Right.
So, yeah, everything is going good. Preparation, baits, it's just ungodly because when I hit the road this time, I'm going to be gone for 7 weeks straight. So
7 weeks straight, huh?
7 weeks straight. So I'll leave the 5th. I haven't done the announcement, but I got a rod deal with somebody this year. So that will be coming up here with some other announcements in the boat wrap. I didn't have time to take a picture of the boat wrap. The boat wrap's been done. They did a magnificent job as per usual, where you go and we all go. So, I got some unveilings and stuff like that. And then I got to get my stick wet as far as getting prepared because, of course, we're walking on water up here and not fishing anything.
Yeah. Good ice this year. Lots of good ice this year.
Right. And that's just the burr for me, especially being in the opens are the same. But I don't know about you if you'll go try to jump right into the event, because when is your guys' first event?
I leave a week from Friday.
Yeah. So you're just going to go straight into it with practice.
Yeah. I mean, I just started looking at my boat last week. It's been parked since beginning in November. And yeah, I've been working 7 days a week, getting caught up on all that good stuff. Yeah, I haven't done. I'm way behind.
Yeah. So me with the 7 weeks, I don't really, we just want to go jump into practice because honestly, paying attention to social media and all the other guys, they've been out there whacking them somewhere or fishing somewhere, and not all of them, but I want to try to maintain and have a year like I had last year to qualify for the 2026 Classic. So to me, momentum is key. And one, I don't want to have any boat issues when I pull up to it. And, these seasons are so critical now, even though I'm a little higher than the middle of the field as far as points from this year and the first year. If I have another bad year and you're not above 70th, you're out. So you really got to continue to catch them. So all that's on my mind. You know what I mean? Everything's running wild. The hardest thing is being away from the house for 7 weeks. But it goes quick when you're fishing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it legs, there's moments, and if you're having good moments along the way, it goes a lot easier and quicker. But if you're in a sunken ship moment, it doesn't go as smooth, and we've all had that as anglers, ups, downs, highs and lows. No matter who you are, how good you are, it's fishing, it's not catching.
Absolutely.
A lot of the other younger anglers are proving a little different with the live scope, that it's more or less catching for them, I guess. But
right.
I'd like to float as kind of over the old category of being a little older angler than what's out there now, and same with you and other people that are doing it. It's like, man, you really got to keep up with what's going on. And it's not much, but staying sharp with your skills and honing in on them, especially with live scope, is critical and key.
Yeah, you can definitely see that kind of that transition the last few years where it's you may not have to do it 100% of the time, but when you have to do, you better be darn good at it because those guys are. I don't know if it's that they're that efficient with it. I mean, I guess they are that efficient with it, but they just have that much confidence in it. Like one of my confidence things in the springtime is taking a jig and going flipping docks and
Yeah.
laydowns. Like
Oh, yeah.
I can do that for 9 hours for 5 bites and be totally fine, knowing I'm going to probably get 5 bites. Whereas
Yeah.
I go out there live scope. I was watching an interview we got our first ones on Rayburn. I was watching an interview for the guy that won last weekend. And he's like, "Yeah, I was only catching because I only saw 10 fish a day and I caught 7 or 8 of them." But he had 27 pounds a day. Like,
Yeah. You mean at Clarksville?
What's that?
At Clarksville?
No, this was at the Toyota Series, I think it was at Rayburn.
Oh, on Rayburn,
yeah. The guy's like, I only saw 10 fish a day. I caught 8 of them if I was lucky. Like, man, I don't know if I could go around and fish an hour looking for them like that.
Well, and are they 100% knowing that that's 10 bass?
Right.
So like, I feel like we'll use Smith Lake. It was very easy to tell what a bass was, but each lake you pull up to, I feel like the fish look different. The way the tails move, the way they react to the bait, and all that changes. It just, it's not 100%. I came back home last year and I was destined to unlock the code that we're doing on all the reservoirs and crack the code up here because you fish the Madison chain and the amount of giant smallmouth that Monona has. If you get on them, it's game over.
Right.
I mean, it's springtime, you're cracking 25, 27 pounds. Some of them have caught. I didn't catch that much weight out there before, just fishing, but heavy weights we have for being a northern lake with smallmouth. And you don't bring them in like that unless it's the springtime or later in the season. You can, but they're so nomadic and they're there and gone that they have to be doing it. And I ran across one school. It was 2 weeks and they were on bait in 35 feet of water.
Really?
And I caught 587 or 578? It was a freaking toad on a Demi. And there was 8 of them down there and they're swimming. And I finally found it. I'm like, dang, I unlocked it, but I couldn't find it again during the summer. And I had another one bite. It actually bit my drift fry because I was throwing like the expensive Japanese ones at them. They wouldn't eat the Z2 or none of that. And they would come up and I could feel them eat the back. They wouldn't touch a 4-inch. They wanted the big profile because clearly they're down there with the perch. That's what it was, bait and little schools of perch. And they bit it and I could feel it stretch and boom, it ripped it in half once. And then it bit the backside. And then finally I connected with the one and then I threw out again and I seen one coming from the bottom and it was just like a 4.5 pound largemouth that was mixed in. Cause of course they're traveling together, but I just wanted to hone in on that. And then like for weeks I was trying to do it like when I was back. So I was gone so much last year and on the road. But when I was here, I'd try to perfect it. And then finally I gave up and went to my grassroots, literally the grass, and started smoking just like historically we would do because the milfoil is so key. But I know that if somebody could tap into that up north of what we're doing down there and spent the time on it, that they would run across the mega bag that hasn't been exposed. And that's what Live Scope is doing. It's exposing all of the unrealistic expectations that we only thought about but never knew about, and it's showing out.
Yeah, I've always wondered about that too, Monona, because we do growing up, and even like this last summer, I had my kids out there, and they gets that July, August when it's hot and it's stagnant. You got that thermocline about 16 to 20 foot, and the panfish are just the bluegills are just like it's like a freaking line on your graph, 2D. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're using, but with the live scope like that, I've got my kids out there just catching bluegills. Like, man, there's got to be fish. There's got to be bass, largemouth, smallmouth, something somewhere on all of it. The problem is that the whole lake is that way. I mean, the whole lake has got all the fish out there, so it's a needle in a haystack. But like you said, if you could put the time in, you could probably find them out there.
But like you said, it's so hard to go out there and look for tens. So that's the thing. I give all the younger, older, and all of the guys doing the scope activity I give them credit, right? Because that's a mindset in its own, and it can play with you super bad, and it's a commitment. It's just like somebody grinding in the grass and having confidence with it. But I feel like the scope is taking the mystery out. Like if we're grass fishing and grinding, I'm pretty sure you've chunked and wined a chatterbait, spinnerbait, crankbait through grass, all of the above, and like you're on like 200,000th cast, and then all of a sudden, like, ding, you know what I mean? And it's just like that part of fishing scope is taking away.
Right.
I'm excited this year for the way our schedule sets up in my mind, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of betting. There's going to be a lot of pre-spawn stuff and activity like that, where power fishing and that stuff can be used to catch the bags. But I still, in the back of my mind, I'm like, there's going to be 5 dudes out there that are going to wreck them on scope, if not more, on the field. And it's like, you can't be asleep to that if your weight's not that high during practice. You know what I mean? Because it's just the inevitable. I know we can't go into detail on it, but like me speaking upon it, like when Rivette with the Okeechobee thing in the beginning, you guys went last year, and I think there was 3 people from the top 10 that were scoping them and pinging them on a minnow, and one of them made the elites this year, or 2 of them, you know, and they're in the canal. Like, that was never a thing. Who would have ever thought you're going way down to Okeechobee, where all the pencil reeds and everything else, and floating mats, hyacinth, flipping, chatterbaiting, swim jigging, prop baits, frogs, like literally hammer time, big thick braid, and get it done. But now we're out here with the spinning rod out there doing that. I mean, you would have a spinning rod with the Senko, but you know what I mean. It's just one of those things that changed fishing drastically. And if I wouldn't have used it last year, I would probably say, if I would not have hunkered down and got with it, there would not have been me fishing the Classic this year, period. And I think majority of guys that are in the Classic used it, period. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, buts, or whats. The guys that stayed hard-headed and didn't want to do it, and not necessarily hard-headed, but fished the way that they wanted to, it's just so hard to compete without it. And it's finally sinking into me, where I feel like, you know, was it worth trying a 50-50? I'm not for a 50-50. I'm for it or not have. I could care less if they take it, to be honest with you. I just don't like the fact of rigging my boat to de-rigging my boat to switching it up. You know what I mean? And which one's with it, which one's without it. Because like you look at, we're going to St. Clair, and it's like, would that be that fun without it out there, with as much pressure as it gets from live scope, even when we're not there now, just because it's a phenomenal fishery? You know what I mean? Are they going to set up how they used to set up? Because there are already some of them that are hard enough to catch with the scope out there as it is.
Yeah.
So,
There's the pressure, and you know, you guys kind of, the elites kind of put that on the map a couple of years ago in Anchor Bay there, where they just absolutely, I mean, it was unbelievable. You know, we were there for the Open this last year, and I avoided that just because there was so many boats, and I was all by myself. And I mean, I caught the living crap out of them. I just didn't catch the right size. I mean, it's amazing when you come in with almost 20 pounds at 17 one day, almost 20 the next day. And I was like, my buddy texted me, he's like, "Oh man, how'd you do?" He's like, "I saw you were in like 30th or something." Like, nah, man, I finished like 112.
No, and Anchor Bay is a gem. It's continued to produce. It's no secret. It's out there in the public. You know what I mean? And Jay Shakir proved that. I mean, so although we got to give Joey credit, he stayed off the beaten path and stuck to himself and smashed him in the elite. So there's still that place is so phenomenal. You know, I got on him over in Canada. I just couldn't find enough. So I didn't go back over there because it was quite the haul, but it's just the groups of them and stuff like that. So, you know, just got to roll with it and see how it goes. Like I said, drop that boat in the water and go with your gut instinct. Just don't take me back to Wheeler. I think I finished 80th in the elites, and I finished 80th in the Toyota Series Championship. So I think that place has like an 80 on me, and it just is stingy. So just let's not go back there.
Anywhere but there, huh?
Anywhere but there. I mean, I'll go to the Red River with a smile, You know what I mean? Again, I don't dislike that place because that's how I got to where I'm at.
Yep,
Right.
yep.
So,
I
you
didn't. I
know,
didn't. I mean, I didn't finish far behind you on the Red River. I didn't hate that place. Other than the fact that it was so hard on my equipment.
yeah. Oh well, and the fact that you actually created a boat drainage system in your boat that you didn't know about, so you
Yep.
were able to fill your boat up with water. You just could not empty it fast enough.
Right. Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Between that one, Ross Barnett, and then I think between the two of those, it really did her in pretty damn good. So.
And it was
Yeah.
so hot when we were there.
Oh
Yeah,
god, it was hot.
Like miserably hot.
the thing that was nice about those tournaments in that year of qualifying, I feel like scope was a thing, but it wasn't a thing.
Right.
None of those events were won on that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Everybody had it, but it wasn't. It's just crazy if you look at that reset and then 1 year later, how defined it is for everybody. Like literally from when qualifying, fishing with you in the opens and everything else to the
Right.
next year on the elites. It's get with it or get lost. It
Yeah.
literally went from all gas, no brake on live scope. And that's where we're at with it. And now that's where we're at with it 100%. I mean, it's just a proven fact. There's no ifs, ands, buts, or what's about it. You know, and it, like another thing is just kind of sinking into me. It'd be nice just to go and fish and grind it out. You know what I mean? And there will be some tournaments where we're going to have to do that. Sabine
Right.
is for sure going to be that. Not saying they ain't going to catch them on scope here and there, but that's
Right.
just a grinder tournament in general. So yeah, I mean,
Now,
I think
knowing you prior, you've always had the we've gone tips and tricks and back and forth on how to set up Garmin's and everything like that. But you sent me a video not too long ago of a hummingbird, and I see the hummingbird hat. So is there a change on your boat?
there is a change, but I'm in the process of trying to get it dialed in. So,
Gotcha.
um, I have both, which is the comparison that I had sent to you.
Yep.
So in my mind, they did a phenomenal job as far as bait tracking from what they had. Again, and I've ran all Humminbird products. You know what I mean? They had to come out with something new. I've always no other graphs except for before when we had to deal with the live scope. So I got to get a little bit more time. That's one of the reasons why I'm going down another week early because I need to get it in grass and shallow water. When you're out there pre-fishing for a classic, it's hard to only have 5 days, 4 days, or whatever I was down in Texas for to try to really dial that in. You know, the guys that live down south, I mean, I don't mind the cold. If it was 20 degrees and it wouldn't be ice, I'd be out there playing with it right now, looking at
Right.
smallmouth on boulders and any leftover milfoil and trying to figure it out. So it's substantially good. And I can say for sure, you know, Brandon Polinick and Carl Jacobson for sure should smash them this year because they had the old version and now they have the surplus version. You know, you can bait track out to 110 feet. So yeah, we're working and shifting that 100%. But you know, with me not having enough practice, we'll kind of have to play how that goes. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Yep.
things change, and I've got a couple bodies of water in Florida I'm going to that are full of grass, to the point where you're not even going to be able to use live scope. More flipping stuff just to kind of get dialed in back with that. And then other lakes that have grass, but you can still live scope with it. So, you know, I give more honest feedback later, but it's a phenomenal tool that they came out with. It's nice. You know, you don't have a black box to run. They hook up the easiest. The bracket,
that is one of the nice things about the Humminbird for sure.
right, because it's a power wire and then a network cable. The one reason why I want to get used to it more, and this is just being open and honest, is redundancy. You're over here tearing your boat apart and you're like, oh shit, my graphs aren't working. I don't have touch screen. Okay. Well, let's say I decide to try and run a Garmin with Humminbird or something like that. I don't have redundancy. If that sucker goes out, I'm screwed.
Right.
Transducer goes out, graph goes out, there's no redundancy. You know what I mean? So like when you have one boat network of what Humminbird has where everything networks and I have 4 graphs, I can easily swap 2 and then change over from that. So
Yep.
to me, redundancy is key. Last year I had 2 live scopes on my boat, perspective and forward. I never use perspective. I'm not a perspective fan. I could dial my live scope stuff in last year so well, I could tell if a fish was on a stump bedding or fry garters and see them bedding on the bottom in their movement. And then the 360 shows me the bed anyway. So I can actually track my bait to the bed instead of just casting at a bed in perspective mode. So I had an extra unit last year basically because we started out in timber. And if something broke or went bad, like I said, you can't compete without live scope at a lot of these events. So if it goes down on you, you're going down for the count. I mean, you might be able to go scramble something up near the bank and figure something out just going back to grinding it out. But if you're on roamers and suspenders and that's what you found and you lose your technology, what's going to happen? Not saying you're not going to catch fish, but you're going to not come in with the bag that you expected to come in with. You know what I mean? And especially given an example like you just said with the other tournament, only seeing 10 bites a day can realistically happen. And if you only get a shot at 5 and don't land them all, and then you don't come in with the full limit, you're already behind the curve. So,
you don't like perspective mode, huh?
so I like it, but I just know the 360 so well, and I can get it tuned in. So everybody,
sorry, go ahead.
Everybody that I've talked to is like, why are you fishing with the dinosaur? And I'm like, man, that dinosaur ain't never going to leave my boat, dude. Like, it's not. Because, like, again, like, I'm hoping for a fishery. And again, there's Florida fisheries with grass. But, like, my tact is towards tackling a body of water. The first thing I ever do, and I don't know if you do this, I would assume you do something like this being from the north. If there's any grass in any reservoir, that's the research I'm trying to figure out. Because if there's anything that I have confidence in that doesn't deal with scope, is literally figuring out hydrilla and milfoil, so forth. You know what I mean? And that's the area that I'm going to go to because historically, no matter what, whether there's suspenders that are big, that grass is always going to hold fish throughout the whole season, period. It's going to hold the plankton, all bait fish. I mean, everything lives in the grass for cover. I think the fish hide a lot more up here in cover because of the northern and the muskie. You know what I mean? That may be why the reservoirs, you get more of the roamers and stuff like that versus a lot of our lakes with the predator fish just because they don't have to hide from that, you know?
Right. Yeah. I put this last year at perspective and forward, both on the Joel Moore, for that. And I would always turn perspective on, like, we had an instance on Lake Wisconsin this fall. I mean, everybody's in the woods, nobody's up there fishing. Give me a jig and a dock, and I'm in heaven, right? And we pull up on some docks and flipping away, and I power pull down, and everybody's like, "Well, I don't think they're here." I'm like, "No, I don't know if they're bass or not, but there's 2 of them that keep coming back past this one post right here." Yeah, they're bass. I caught both of them. By the end of the day, like, I would roll up on a dock. I wouldn't even cast. I would look with the perspective mode, like, and we're talking less than 3 feet of water. Like, oh, he's sitting by that post right there, and freaking catch him off the thing, dude. I love it. And I just for going down the bank, because I love shallow power fishing, flipping a jig, cranking, like you said, chatterbait, spinnerbait, and just seeing that isolated clump of grass, seeing that lay down that's not sticking up at all. Like, maybe it's just a log and you can see the fish sitting next to it and stuff. I really, really dialed that in last year. And I'm kind of disappointed, honestly, because I literally had it for 1 year. I just figured it out. And now I either have to have one or the other because I can only have one transducer. So.
Right. But what mount are you running?
I just ordered the Fish Obsessed. They got that quick release one or whatever now. You can pull the pin and switch it over back and forth. I literally ordered that tonight because I've just been running the factory Garmin ones.
So the quick release one, that just
tell me it sucks. I just bought it.
Well, no, it's just the extra option you didn't need. Probably. So the quick release isn't the part, because that's what I run is the Fish Obsessed still. So the quick release one, all it is a pin, and then you can release it. Where the whole I think it's a dom. I can't remember exactly, but the whole mount with the Fish Obsessed, you can cock it at different angles and pitches for your boat and forward and backwards, but then it just rotates. So necessarily you didn't need the quick release one. You could have got the one right below it, but it's going to do the same thing.
Okay, the Dominator, is that the one that was right
Yep,
below?
the
Right?
Dominator. Yep.
Yep,
That's what
yep,
I was
okay.
getting. I just wanted to make sure I was saying it right. So yeah,
Yep.
he's good shit. I've had plenty of conversations with him back and forth about other products and stuff. And you know, I have other sponsorship stuff, and a lot of people are coming out with them. You know, me being in business, you owning your own business, I may fail at this sometime, but I'm just tried and true. If somebody's worked with me since day one, even if I have
Yep.
something else and they try to change me, and it's not like none of them are paying, and I don't fault because the other company makes a phenomenal product neither. You know what I mean? But I just believe in representing what's been with me through the whole thing. But with that being said, like I said, the Mega Live one is Humminbird pretty much hit it out of the park with their bracket, and they souped their bracket up from their first version because they put an extra clip up top so it doesn't wobble, because it used to end up getting play when you'd hit waves, and the transducer, it would like sag like this from the bracket. So now they eliminated that, and that one's already dialed in. Landscape goes quick and everything else. So
Nice.
but yeah, I'm not knocking perspective, landscape, all of that from all of them. I just like I can see I've learned the 360 so well, and it's not that I'm using it all the time,
Right.
but like up here significantly, you know, fishing local tournaments, like when we got tapering milfoil to a point, and you know there's boulders there, but then you got the sand. Yeah, live scope, you can scan over and see it, you know, and forward and stuff. But that transition, when them fish are within a foot of the bottom and you can't see them, you at
Right.
least know that that's there to make that cast. And if you make that cast and get a bite from off of the sand edge where the transition is versus on the rock, now you know where that goes. And if there's more chunk rock out, you know, to
Yep.
me, it's
Yep.
just I could never, I don't think I could never retire that piece of equipment from my boat. It just, like I said, a lot of guys are not using it because of it taking so long to
Yep.
refresh.
That was my
But
biggest concern, or my biggest complaint. Yep.
now you're not going to put it back on your boat because you can have that and live scope.
I know, but I've got two Garmin's. I just put a Flex in the new Russell Marine products, a Flex 19. That I put that on the bow along with the 12-inch Garmin, and then I got the one Humminbird at the dash. So that way I can do my Garmin's are linked, so I can transfer waypoints and all that stuff like that. And then I've got my Humminbird for. I do have a transducer hooked up to that one, but I primarily use it for mapping. Because the new the VX series mapping, right? The new Humminbird, whatever it is, that stuff's
Oh,
insane.
it gave away what all the old timers
Yeah.
been fishing back home in Mud Lake. It's deadly. I mean, it literally marked out what you used to do, and you would scan all your stuff and auto chart live it, and it literally gave it away. Take everything that you had that was a secret. So there was two spots, and again, we can relate up here because a lot of people probably watch it might be from other places, are up here. But basically like little jog outs, right? I knew they were there, and I caught plenty of fish cranking the edge and that kind of stuff before, or drop shot and power shot and jig, whatever. They were there. And then literally it comes out and I'm driving like just side scan, and I'm like, that thing's dead on my waypoint. I'm like, that's the point where I wreck them at this time of year. It's there. It's showing. So again, I think all of them. The one thing that I can say about Humminbird, you know, even if some people think the live isn't as good as whatever Garmin has, their mapping to me is substantially better in my mind, because I've looked at the Garmin before, the detail with it, like they have the mapping so dialed, I just set it and let it. And what I mean by that is just set it and let it go, because you do your shade reliefing, your mapping, and then the satellite, and it just fills it in, and you don't need to do any coloring. Now you can go back and fill in your contours and stuff like that with depth highlight, but I don't even do that, because once you get used to where it fades that same color for the depth. You know what I mean? So then it shows like the flat changes a little, you know, it's almost like seeing it on side imaging. It's so detailed. And now they're new. I don't know if you've played around, because did you do the update on your Humminbird?
I did 3 of them, and because mine's a Solix Gen 3 that I run, and I had to do 3 or 4 of them because I was way behind at St. Clair because my new chip wouldn't work for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Well, she does.
Did
I
you
don't.
do- did you
I
get-
do the updates. He doesn't do
Yeah,
the
yeah,
updates.
yeah. You couldn't even figure the volume out a minute ago.
It
Mom,
was not
you
me.
you unplugged my internet for Christ's sakes from another house.
I got skills. I have technology skills that you don't even
That
know
was
about.
that was the best. Did you go to the 5.060 one yet?
This would have been
I was
July. I
Oh,
haven't done
last
anything
July?
since July. Yeah.
Oh no, so you gotta go download the new update. It is
Okay.
an interface that changes it. So your Solix, you used to have to go up here to your favorites,
Yeah.
and then 2 things would drop down and you could click on the screen.
Yeah.
That's all on the home screen now. Everything is
Really?
on the home screen. When you mark so I've never used Lowrance, but I was always told that they have the best waypoint management system.
Yep. I've always heard that.
If Lowrance is what Humminbird did, there's no gap. It's tightened, period. So you mark a waypoint, and there's settings in the Humminbirds where you could fix this, but this comes just factory the way that it is on the Gen 3, Apex, and then the Explorer. So everything's updated to the Explorer platform, except for they don't have built-in maps with the Gen 3 or the Apex. Explorers are coming with the built-in maps of the VX. So when you go mark a waypoint and then you go to save it, it instantly brings up all of the waypoints in the whole thing. You can name it, dial it, and then it's done and put it away.
Oh wow,
So
that would be nice.
I did a video on it. It is literally flawless. I mean, it took a second to grasp it, but it is user friendly. They took what the Solix platform was and the Apex platform and simplified it for what all the end users have been wanting forever. And they knocked that out of the park, period.
Nice. Yeah, she just pulled it up on her phone right here. Yeah, that's yeah, no, I don't have that update yet. It said
Yeah,
December of
you're
11.
gonna
Yeah,
need
I
to,
need to
you're
get that
gonna
one.
need to do that.
Heck yeah. Yeah, because the old waypoints, I
Let me
mean,
get right on that.
all my old waypoints from anything around here, Madison Jane, I got 400 waypoints and they're all the same icon. Every once in a while, I'll be like, wonder what that one is. It might have been a fish. There's not side scan it. There's nothing there. So
Yeah.
maybe I caught something or accidentally hit a button. But yeah, that's I'll check that out because I
Yeah,
use the Garmin for a lot of that, and the Garmin's very. I mean, I got it where I can type it in right away. Boom, boom, change icon. Really easy, really quickly. All touchscreen. I really like it too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So,
I mean,
what?
no,
I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say what else? What else? It sounded like you said you went down and you pre-fished for the classic. By the way, congratulations, making the classic. That's awesome.
Yeah. A feat.
What else did you pre-fish for? Anything?
Not yet. So it's gonna start out. I gotta stop, go grab my rod. So I'm going down to get my rod. I'm not gonna have a rod in the boat. So I got a bunch of reels and bags right now, just loaded, probably like 50 of them. So I got to go get that, and then I'm gonna have 2 days of rigging. I got to go through line because usually I do that, but I'm not going to do that when the rods aren't there. So I have 2 days picking those up, going through them, figuring out which models that I want, and then I'll end up shooting down to. I want to get into Apopka just in case we go back to Harris because I've never been there. So I'm gonna test the waters there because they say it's phenomenal. And it can be, there's a lot of big ones down there, but then again, dealing with that lock situation, I'm not a guy that likes to lock because I don't want to take that chance. If I'm going to end
Right.
up falling out, I want it to be because I just didn't catch them, not because a lock broke down or somebody else was in my way to get back on time. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's where it gets sketchy for me. So last year I wanted to go to Griffin. Griffin's lock was messed up. So I was like, I'm not doing that. This is where I'm going to grind this out and make this work. And that ended up being my best finish ever. So we're going to tinker around there. We're going to go to Yale because we did that little tournament when they canceled the wind blowing and the storm last year. And it's got phenomenal hydrilla at a couple ends and biggins in there. And then I'll probably do Panasofsky or whatever. That's got a lot more eelgrass, but it's got big. And so like I'll hit multiple lakes. And then there's one I'll drive up to Rodman to actually start after fishing for like 5-6 days. I'll drive towards St. John's and then be there for a day and a half before we start. And I actually started looking into Orange Lake, which has huge ones and it's full of grass, like not as many numbers, but it said that historically, and this is just research online, you know, you're liable to catch a double digit and several 15-pounders come out of there a year. So I mean, if
Jesus.
I could go fish all day and just crack into a 15, I'm cool with one fish a
That's
day.
right.
So
Sign me up.
it was just like Lake Fork last year. I pre-fished all day and caught 2 fish. Well, I caught these 2 fish in 5 trees of each other, and they both were 9-pounders. I mean, hell, sign me up. I'm cool. If I
Right.
catch 2 9s in a day, the day
Oh
can
man,
be
that's awesome. Yeah.
on a black and blue jig. So
Really?
imagine a hook set with 22-pound sunline and just poof, and you know what I mean? There you go. But literally 5 trees apart, flipped it, seeing it on live scope, it's coming down, and then all of a sudden this big whale just comes down. I'm like, I already know what's gonna happen. I go twitch, twitch, koosh, and it just smokes it, both of them. So,
Dude, that's awesome.
but
The best jig bite ever.
yeah, but to not get too much off, it just, you know, talking fishing, we can scatterbrain. And me, there's a squirrel over there, I'm gonna go.
Oh, I know.
So you know, we got St. John's, then we got Okeechobee, and straight from there, why I'm not coming back home is because we really have 12 days or 11 days before I have to be to the classic at Ray Roberts, you know, because we start so early, and then I want to get a day to get there, get situated. Clearly, we'll have to get food and everything else. And then in between there, I'm going to go hit that Admirable Sound or whatever, however they, whatever. Yeah. It's
Oh,
Admirable.
over on the East Coast. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm going to go there and drive around there for a few days, probably 3 days there, just to get a learn of the lay of the land. Cause you know, Bass hasn't been there since 88. I think it's 88 or 87 is the last video you can find.
81 was the last time the elites in our top 50, 150 have been there.
Yeah, it's a long time ago, but that one looks super interesting. I'm excited for that. It's almost like a Sabine, but with giants at the right time of year. So I'll do
is it? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I found some local tournament stuff, and the weights are significant. Like the top 5 in the tournaments there around that time of the year, doing online searches was like 26 to 27 pounds for 5.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's like a
Awesome.
Sabine, how it sets up with cypress trees, backwater rivers, you know, flipping, frogging, and all that kind of stuff. So that one seems like it's going to be interesting. Hopefully, that's not going to be one on live scope. But
Right.
then I'll venture down from North Carolina, and then I'll come down, and I'm going to just run the lay of the land probably 2 days at Hartwell, and then I'll do that quick, pack up, and then I'll shoot. I'm going to go to Fork because I never went past the bridge, and I know a lot of the action where I didn't go past happens where I was fishing and where other people did. But since I'm already going to be in Texas, and then that will kind of get me used to fishing timber again because Ray Roberts is full of timber. I know they don't set up the same. And honestly, I feel like Fork is a way better fishery than Ray Roberts of numbers of fish and stuff like that. Ray Roberts has them. Trust me, it's got them, but it's not as abundant, I feel like, of Fork. So I want to go tinker past the East Arm in the bridge for a day or two and then make my way to the Classic. So it's almost like there's no point, you know, from Florida, 22 hours to come back home. That's 2 days of driving because you're going to have to stay over somewhere. And then home for what, 5-6 days to go back down when I could pre-fish in between. So that's really why I'm gone so long, leaving early and then just pre-fishing those other 2 bodies of water to kind of learn navigation with them and what I think that I might encounter when I come back. And you snowplow just like us, so like there's not shit happening.
No. Well, and I actually had to borrow my excavator's truck. I had to wake him up the last, a couple inches we got here last week, whatever. Went in the morning, got my plow hooked up, and my one plug's been giving me a fit for 2 years.
Yeah.
I pulled it apart. The plug broke at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I have to rewire the plow, the one harness on the plow, and the one harness on the truck. But hopefully it doesn't snow anytime soon because the new wire harness in the backseat of my truck. So
yeah. Well, I was supposed to leave the 7th or the 6th. Me and Amber both looked at the radar and weather channel, so forth, and it said it was supposed to get snow on the 6th to the 7th, but now they took it off. So I was like hoping. So like technically, I'm probably going to be your bad luck charm, but good luck charm, because whenever I leave in the winter, they get piss pounded. So I hope that I mean, we can use the money. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just hope they get annihilated with snow while I'm gone, because financially it would be great. You know what I mean? But
Well, if you're leaving
Well,
the
we're
6th
leaving
or
right
7th,
after you.
I'm leaving the 8th, so I'll just make sure I got everything fixed, the plow hooked up. I'll put it on the truck, put it in the shop, and I'll call my dad. Hey, this is what you got to plow. Have at it.
yeah. Well, before I jumped on here, that's what I was doing. Was I smell like gas right now. I had to service 2 paddles, scraper, spark plugs, and then a third spark plug in the third one. So I just had to get all 3 running good. That way Amber doesn't have to deal with the headaches. So I'm lucky that I got her, because she does the trenches when I'm gone. So
Yeah.
it
Is
makes
she traveling any of them with you this year?
once yeah. So our middle-aged daughter got her license, so she can get back and forth to work. They're all coming to the classic. So we got
Very
the
cool.
plowing stuff figured out. Amber's coming, my mom's coming, and then our 2 oldest. So Amber and Harper will drive down to the classic to meet me for the week and a half, because Night of Champions and the media stuff with Amber picking the seats out. But we didn't want to let the oldest, who's in an apprenticeship, miss that. And then the other one gets really, really good grades, so she can't miss school too much. So they're flying down. So we bought all 3 of them flights. They'll fly down once it becomes closer to game time together. And then we'll all drive back after that. And then she's going to hopefully come down to the Texas events, not the April ones, because school will still be around. But April, May, I don't even know when the kids get out. It's all a wash. I think it's June.
Yeah, usually first week of June.
First week of June.
So she may try to make it down to one of the Texas ones, and then everyone in the summer for sure. And especially lacrosse. Lacrosse, I'm guessing I'll have a lot more people there. We'll have quite a few people coming to St. Clair too. So just, a couple friends and stuff like that. But like I told everybody that's been promising, oh, we're going to make it to an event. I'm like, look, if you don't make it up to lacrosse, lose my number.
Right. Exactly.
Right. We're not getting any closer than that.
Yeah. Well, the sad thing is how close that is out of all the events, and I've never put my boat on the water there once in my life.
You've never been on lacrosse?
Never been to. I've been to lacrosse when I crossed the river to go play AAA division hockey. That's it.
Wow.
Have you ever been on the Mississippi River at all?
No, never. Not in a boat. Not once.
Wow.
Oh man.
So, but that is one that, come home, do a couple jobs, I'll shoot out on a weekend. I'm going to get out there for at least 2 or 3 weekends. I won't make it a week-long deal because it's so close. I'll make it a week. I mean, it's 2 hours, so I'm going to go up there probably more than I usually would for pre-fishing, just because it's close. You know what I mean? And like, just to learn the navigation is key.
Yep.
So that's the biggest
I can't
thing.
believe you've never fished the Mississippi.
I know that. So they had the high school thing, and people could reach out, and I had a couple people reach out, and I'm like, dude, like, I'm the last guy that could give you I just know, don't hit a wing dam and mess your shit up. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the best advice I can give you. But and we can't get info and stuff. And I've asked Caleb, and he kind of gave me some guidance on how to run, because we can talk about that stuff with me and him. So, but yeah, it's never been there, but I know it's a good fishery, and I probably should have put my boat on there.
Yeah. All right. You won't have any problem figuring it out. It's an awesome place. It's plumb full of fish, and you'll find you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out pretty quick. So, it's just a matter of finding, the little bit bigger than average ones. There is what it's all about.
Oh, 100%.
And the locks.
Yeah. And that's another one. That's the locks. I chose in the open to lock down both days, and
did you get locked out with all the other guys?
No, I day 2 I was like last flight on day 2, so I was after all that transpired. Then I was able to make it back through, but I was locking down with Mitch Van Hurt. You probably know Mitch. Him and I were on the lock together. He was borrowing Adam's boat, and he's like, "Dude, I'm due back at 2:30." I'm like, did you just hear the guy? Like, when this opens up, you should just drive up, turn on, drive back in, dude. Like, you're not going to make it. That's not possible for you to do it. It takes this amount of time to get here, yada, yada, yada. Yeah, he didn't do that. He went and fished, and he didn't make it back. So, but yeah, I was past all that. I think I locked back with like one boat at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So, but I didn't on the way down in the morning. I mean, I was within the first 20 boats on day one of getting there to the lock. So 7:30-ish. 7:40, and yeah, I finally made it through and made my first cast on my primary spot at 10:30.
Yeah.
So because there was
well, I can honestly willingly tell you I know where I'm going.
Yeah.
And it ain't locking.
Yeah, well, and that's this day and age with the way everything is and all the all the tournaments either come out of 10 or 8.
Yeah,
you don't have to. You can stay there. Definitely.
Well, historically, doing your research will show you.
Yeah.
But I know way before it was announced on this. I want to make that clear so people are like, oh, you know what I mean? You and me talked when we were at the local one. You like going down to 9. I mean, I already knew all that, but like, I'm like, I ain't playing that game. You know what I mean? But if you got confidence in it, I mean, that's what got you to, what's that step? The national or regional?
Oh, the national championship.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I think that's cool what they did. So it's another way to try to make it to the elites a little easier and not have to fish as many with the group, as far as that goes. So
yeah, and GL is the tournament director there. Runs it just like Hank does. Runs a really good tournament. I was very, very pleased with that. We signed up for the James River in Virginia in April and Lake Erie St. Clair in July. So
so those are other ones that are 400 entry and then top 20 go on.
Yep. And this year's championship is on the Mississippi.
Yeah, the championship it's third week October on La Crosse. So
nice.
If I could,
fingers crossed.
Yeah, you got to qualify on either Eufaula, Oklahoma, Pickwick, James River, or Erie to get to the Mississippi River. But hopefully.
So are those in the mix of the routine with you traveling? Are you traveling to those just straight up going to them?
Just straight up going to them.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I've got really with everything this year, we've got February, March, April, and then the one in July, and then the last one, Leech Lake's in the end of August. So I'm actually going to be home
all summer
for May, June, and July, basically this year, and get into there's what the heck was that one? The Wisconsin Elites or something like that. They've got one on Lake Wisconsin that it's a TV event. But then this year they're like, oh, you can't, you got to sign up for at least 2 of them. Well, I happen to be home for all 3 of them, so we could potentially make the championship. So we're going to sign up. It's Madison.
Oh no, you just got to. No, you don't got to sign up for 2 of them. You just got to pay for 2 of them. We did that last year. You got to pay the 100, and if you don't fish it or whatnot, unless they changed it. But Justin is who runs it. Yep. So, we did the Madison chain one, me and my brother. And I didn't know that there was an event, and I found it, and I'm like, hey, and sure enough, Ryan is a staple for going to my spots and just fucking wrecking them. I mean, he's like, dude, I went here and I caught 20, 21, another 20. I caught like 70 fish. I'm like, did you leave any?
Right.
And he's like, oh, screw it. The bite's on. Let's go. And I think we finished 3rd. But had he not have went to them spots like 2 days before the event, not knowing there was a tournament I didn't even know, it would have been game on. I mean, he literally went out there in one spot and cracked like 21 and then 20. And it was just on fire and unbelievable.
It does say that you have to fish a minimum of 2 events to be in any of them, and you must fish 3 to qualify. It does say the word fish.
Okay.
Not just
so then last year, I think
that's a new Kyle rule.
Right.
Hey, come on, guys. I'm traveling. I would fish all these circuits. I'd fish Wapta. If people aren't fishing Wapta, they're sleeping on the 300. That's like the best paying circuit around this whole area, period. I mean, it's a $300 entry, but the funds that you get back, and as long as you fish 4 of the 5, you're automatically in a championship, and first is 7 or 8, and there's no entry fee for the championship.
Nice.
So I don't know. Have you ever fished Wapta?
Not in a long time.
Yeah.
No, we used to everyone. So I haven't fished the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, we'd find a local whatever with a couple dozen guys to get in with the, I'd take my kids fishing. So, I mean, I'm going to do a lot more of that this year because they want to get, my son and I fished 2 years ago. So he was 10. We fished one on Madison. I don't even remember what it was. I think there was like 18 boats. We got second place in big bass. So he got a plaque and I gave him $50 out of big bass winning. So that he's like, oh, well, we got a tournament tomorrow, Dad. Like, what's next weekend? Like we just cash checks in every one of them. I'm like, he's like, this is great. I'm like, yeah, but you didn't. I'm like, I had to buy $25 worth of groceries at the gas station for donuts and chips, fuel in the boat, fuel in the truck, entry fee. He just kind of looks at me like, yeah, but we want some money. Do I get some?
Yeah,
sure, bud. Here you go.
Well,
Here's your plaque
Dad,
for $50.
You need to go back and swing the hammer a little bit more to get right. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, so looking forward to getting them out a little bit more, and just putzing around, fishing our Monday nighters, and just having that. I'm kind of excited. Last year I did 11 tournaments on the road.
Yep.
Right, and that was, that's, as you know, that's a lot.
Yep.
So we're toning it back a little bit. We'll be doing 6 or 7 this year. So
right. So after I do 7 weeks, I'm home for 2 weeks. Then we go to the Admiral Sound in North Carolina for a week. Then we have a week off. Then we go to South Carolina. Then we have a week off. Then we go to Fork. And then we go to Sabine. So I'm not faulting Bass, but they should have doubled those North and South Carolina ones down.
Right.
So we could have went back home to our family for at least a couple of weeks. So now do I drive 14 hours there to be home for 3 days to turn back? I'm not coming home in between the Carolinas for sure.
Right.
And then there may be no reason to come home, but I haven't decided. We'll just see how things are going because I can't come home and get a job done. I mean, we build decks fast and we're very sufficient, but by the time you get on the road, get settled in, get your clothes on, pack, do this, do that.
Right.
And the biggest thing is, what if we ran into rot? I mean, remodeling is not something where we can take a gamble doing that. And I can't leave somebody hanging for 2 weeks without railing and stuff like that. So there's not much that I can do. So I'm probably just going to go shoot over to 10 Killer and pre-fish that. Because I believe, that's in June. So we'll still be before our 30 days of cutoff, well before, and pre-fish 10 Killer.
Okay.
So the only ones that I'm probably not I've never put pre-fished Sabine. I did that one dry, just fired her up, never been there. So now I've been there once. I didn't go down to Florida for Okeechobee and St. John's because we've been to St. John's. I pre-fished St. John's. I've pre-fished Florida and fished Okeechobee. And the biggest thing is going to be what happened with the hurricane, which clearly Florida changes over period down there, with the winds and all that stuff, hurricane, high water, so forth. And then I probably won't go back to St. Clair to pre-fish unless I got nothing going on and we're caught up with work. I like going to that place, so I wouldn't mind going there for a weekend. It's only 7 hours.
That's not too far.
Yeah, La Crosse, I for sure will. And if I go there, I don't need that much time. I just roll around and check a couple areas to see where things are. But it's just a beautiful place out there. I mean, it's a phenomenal fishery, and St. Clair is getting just so good because they used to have to make hauls to Erie and then what's north, Huron, or Saginaw Bay and stuff up that way to catch the big bags and in the river. And now you don't have to leave St. Clair, with the size of smallmouth that are coming out of there, it's pointless. So really it's a big bowl with no contour lines and you just need to figure out where they're at.
Just keep going until you find them. 100%.
And then
I ran around the first couple of days of practice. I probably burned more gas in 3 days than the first for practice for this open last year. Same thing. I'm like, there's I'm in 10 foot of water. All right. 2 miles later. Oh, I'm in 10.5 feet of water. 2 miles later. Oh, I made it to 11 foot of water. It's I'm blowing my hair out. Right. I ran all over like an idiot. And then finally, the last day and a half of practice, I'm like, all right, I got to stop. I got to do something productive here because I'm not. And then I found the area where I caught him. It's one of the right size ones, but it was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool.
No, but then for sure, like I said, I'll pre-fish the heck out of Cross at least probably 2 or 3 times, unless I, work. I mean, last year was beautiful because our whole schedule was aligned. We didn't even, I think I needed to land 1 job at the end of the year. That was it. Now this year we'll have to land more. So I'll have Amber doing some of that stuff when I'm gone too, which is new to us because I usually take care of all that,
Right.
And Yeah, we'll just see how it goes. At the end of the day, we're living the American dream, I guess. Rich or poor.
Yep, I hear
So
it. Assholes over elbows, right? That's what I always say. 17
take it.
things going in 20 different directions.
Yeah, take it one day at a time.
Yep.
That's all you can do.
Awesome. Well, man, I don't have much else for you. I think that kind of. Oh, I was going to ask you one thing. So I'd heard through the grapevine, obviously, Bass released here a month or two ago, 0 entry fees, new payout structure. Obviously, the whole world went up in arms. And then I've heard through the grapevine that now it's a $10,000 entry fee, and they restructured the pay structure again. Is that how they're doing it for 2025?
Yeah. And I think they did a public announcement. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
I might have missed it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was publicly announced, but yeah, there is a membership fee, so it's not necessarily worded that way. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
But pretty much we are fishing, and I think we're back to fishing for the top 50. So,
Okay.
it just it would be phenomenal if they could have kept the payouts even close. Like, take your travel expense and the entry fee out, right? And then you're left with 3 grand. So, like, let's say it would have been phenomenal had we have been able to go there and fish for 5 grand, because then you're paying 2 and profiting 3, just like not paying the entry fee. If they would have had the money and the funds to keep that the way that it was, if you were to make a top 50 check and have no entry fee, like, that would be an ideal screaming situation. But when you peel 4.5 million out of the pot, something has to give, you know what I mean? Or else it's not going to be sustainable. So, things have changed. They're still, we'll just see how it goes. I know the classic payouts, AOI stuff's changed and stuff like that. So, that kind of sucks, because I worked my ass off and stayed away from home and fished the Toyota series to stay sharp with my sticks, casting, live scoping, and everything last year. And it was such an achievement on the St. Lawrence to make sure that I caught them, not just to qualify. So after I caught the 20, I realized I'm probably in the classic because it's catching the 22 pounds the first day. But now I climb in the ladder to go from the 40th up into the 20s, because now that's from 5 grand AOI to 10 grand. So a lot of that we lost, though, was the AOI bonus stuff, because again, taking 4.5 million, it's got to go somewhere out of the pot. But that was definitely, and to me, if you ask me personally, like AOI, it's angler of the year. It's not anglers of the year. So like if it didn't get eliminated, but they were able to keep better payouts without the AOI and just the number one guy for angler of the year getting paid, I wouldn't be mad as far as that goes. But it was nice perks and bonuses. And then we still have a check we're waiting for once we go fish the classic this year, which was allocated last year by qualifying, but I think we end up getting it after the classic. I'm not for sure. I know we get it. I just don't know if it's before or after. Probably after, because hopefully I ain't gonna be getting no $10,000 check and we can get 300. So hold on tight to the baby check, and hopefully we run across a mega load and do well on Ray Roberts, because that would be outstanding. Game changing financially and just everything else, kind of setting the precedence of the season. So
hopefully, and the last time Ray Roberts was the one that Hank Cherry won, his second one, right?
Yeah, that was the back-to-back one. Yep.
Yeah, that was okay. I thought so.
But that was a totally different fishery then, and it was later. And it was 4.5 feet high. There were people fishing up in the grills in the state park and stuff.
No doubt, really.
Well, it was flooded. You could see the pictures and stuff.
That's right. I do remember that. Now you say that.
People were catching fish out of the grills, like the state park grills and stuff, and like that kind of shelter stuff. Yeah, it was flooded. So when I'm there, you can see when it floods, on the reservoirs, because the trees are whitened where the water's dropped. I'm standing on my deck, and it was only below like 2.5 feet below full pool when I was there. So I'm standing on the deck, not quite 6 foot, 5'10", and then the trees to where the water is, it's still like 3 feet over my head when I'm next to one. So that place like in flood. And like if you've ever been there and you see all of the trees in the water, and there's no boat lanes there.
Oh,
So basically, I guess that place before they had time to cut boat lanes filled up with water. So they didn't have time to cut them. So there's just no boat lanes there. And then like if you see the structure that they would have had to deal with the water being high, it's already tough enough to look at all the timber they got. But then the amount of timber that's on the bank that you can fish is just absolutely insane. So it's like just start flipping away and run across the good viable stretch, I guess,
right.
trying to see what happens there.
Heck yeah. Very cool. Very cool. One last question for you. Now I got we were parked next to each other a couple years ago at the Red River there, and I borrowed a jig head or something off you, and you pulled out one of your tackle boxes and you had your crankbaits in there. And like every one of them, like mine are like you pull one out, you get everything in the tray, and then you shake it a bunch. Yours were like all like the hooks were folded underneath. And like, is that how your whole boat is? Like your tackle prep?
That's how my life is. That's how my life is. So like my office is a disaster. That's why I'm sitting over here. But like I have like temporary OCD and keep stuff clean. But like, yeah, like so like me, you know how like there's the guys that fish and they want to bring a mops of weeds in because it's part of their no. Like Jordan Lee even gave me crap. He's like, you even fish out of this boat, boy? He's like, you gotta let me get in there and get that thing dirty. You know what I mean? Because like he's like, I'm like, dude, it's actually dirty right now. He's like, are you kidding me? It's just I just have a clean workspace. So how's your job trailer, if you don't mind me asking?
It's not bad, but that being said, that's not a lot of it. It's not me. My guys take care of that. Like they know the shit's all expensive, and they better not be wrecking it and putting it away correctly. So that's it's not horrible. But that being said, we did get a new one about not quite a year ago. So the old one though was an effing disaster. We found stuff in there that's been in there for 15 years. I didn't know existed anymore.
That's not the question you should be asking. The question you should be asking is, what does his shop and all this fishing stuff look like?
Well, I've seen that on posts.
So I know. I keep telling him, I'm like, we can't take pictures in here. It is so bad.
Not that bad.
Oh my gosh.
So again, my garage has room for the plow truck. The dingo fits. There's like an aisle to walk through, and I don't have shelves. Like we literally got a shipping container in our. Now we have an 1.5 acres, so it's not like we're on a residential. We're in the country, you know what I mean? But I had a shipping container when I heated it for the plow trucks originally. I just don't have the room to store it. So my garage gets a little messy in the shelves because there's no way to properly organize it unless I get little knick-knack boxes. But all my tackle is for the most part like that, except for some boxes.
Up at your house, I could sit on your floor, your garage floor, because it was so clean. I sat on your garage floor and didn't even have any dirt on me when I stood up.
You can't now because the plow truck had salt that melted off, but back then probably because I had just power washed it. But yeah, organization is key, So in this industry, I'm not going to give them a shout out because I've been on their damn heels. I'm very OCD, and somebody finally came out with a good product. And I'll tell you offline because I can't shout them out because they ain't responding to me. But with my soft plastics, I literally found the best way to organize them. It's expensive, but it works, and it's got everything labeled and dialed. It's an amazing system. You know what I mean? So like now, instead of the old Ziploc bags and that, I found another bag that is great. We'll just leave it at that. Hopefully they'll call me back.
I probably got the same one because I found one last year that I'm really happy with. So, I think I talked to you at the Classic. You were working with your, was it Powerhouse Lithium, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were at the booth and they were like 3 over to the other side. And I talked to you for a minute and then I went over there and I talked to Logan and ordered a bunch of them. If it's the same one.
Logan.
Latuso.
Oh, yeah. That's giving away too much info. We can't go into you know what I'm saying? But yeah, the crankbaits and stuff, they're all still like that. Now my trap box, because there's so many, which I probably just need to clean out. Truthfully, I've been cleaning stuff out and organizing, but then I use a lot, like all my jigs. I'll order these 6-inch by 4-inch 4 mil thick plastic, and I order little plastic bags and put all my jigs, because most of the tungstens are labeled, and then I seal them up in there, and then they go in a Plano deep, and then all my jigs are in there. They're in plastics in there. And then I also on Amazon order some of the silica. It's like a half gram silica, and then I'll stick that just for moisture. But yeah, I like to stay as organized as possible. Just make stuff more sufficient. Honestly, the Heartbreaker, which I bought a topper from your boy down there in Janesville on my last truck, and it chapped my ass how much it cost, not on him because his price was better than the other people's, but Ford, because I upgraded to a 24 this year, the body style changed by the outside dimensions by 3/4 by an inch. So I had to sell the topper, and the deck box I got rid of because there's no point to have the deck box without a topper.
Right.
So I'm playing Tetris right now on being gone for 2 months because it was slick with the deck box, all the tools, spare hubs, wheel bearings on the left side, all my tackle reels and everything locked on the right, and then up top. I mean, you could hold whatever you wanted. So I didn't, if I'm going to continue to do this, and until I get more sponsorships, like maybe ARE or the heck is the other brand? And
Lear.
actually I looked at Lear, because Lear has a program that pays back for anglers if they win, kind of like a contingency program for your boat. Yeah, Lear actually has called Lear Bucks, which I found that out later. Not that the ARE was bad. It was a good topper, great product, but like anytime us as anglers can find an avenue where we can get paid more money, why not? Because we're already purchasing a product. So I just didn't want to swallow the extra $5,000. So I stuck with the tonneau cover. Pros and cons, you can see your boat all the time. And nobody can really see what's back there, and it's hard and locked. You can't cut it, but you're losing a huge amount of space. So what do you do?
I do pretty good. I mean, my boat's a disaster right now because it's a work in progress, but like my tackle organization is pretty good. It's come a long ways. I use it every winter. I redo it all and this and that. And I found a couple new things, but yeah, I struggle with, I have to have 2 of everything. Like I can't just take I can't take one.
Oh yeah. 2 is, so on baits that I don't use, I'll have 2, but if like dude, and especially a chatterbait, and I really ain't got to catch them since me and you talked when qualifying. I've caught them on a chatterbait, but like that's multiples. I mean that, and then
I got
multiples. So I've tried to dumb my plastics down. Like last year, I kept 1 of everything for practice. One bag of this robo worm, 1 bag of these worms, 1 bag of these creatures, and then I'd be like, okay, this is what I got on, and I'd throw it in there. Well, the sad thing is I got more boxes of minnows in my boat than I got of anything else. You know, and it's like, man, you know what I mean? The old good minnow. And I got a bag full of different jig heads that I've been experimenting with and playing with, from screw locks to tungsten to lead to this. And it's like, that's the hot commodity. It's like I tell everybody, hey, you want to learn how to fish? Buy yourself a jerkbait and buy yourself a minnow and travel the United States, and you're going to catch them all year round. You probably will need a Cinco mixed in with that, but you could literally go to every fishery we go to and probably make those 2 baits work nowadays. Those to me would be the most dominant baits when it comes to fishing with how we're fishing these days with live scope. So
I had a bunch of gift cards and stuff for Bass Pro Shops for Christmas. So I got almost $180 worth of jig heads from Bass Pro Shops, and then from 44 Tackle from Chris down there in Florida. One of my large purchases or things from him was a whole crap load of jerk baits, both regular depth and +1s. So definitely bought a couple of rods, more specific, dialed in for each the minnow and the jerk bait this year. There's going to be 2 dedicated jerk bait rods and 2 dedicated minnow rods. So
oh man, I've always had 2 dedicated jerkbait rods. There might be a 3rd backup, but what are you throwing with the minnow? A medium light or a medium?
Medium light, 610 medium light.
Yep. So I'll be playing with it from what they have set up. It's probably going to be pretty close to there. I was using a 610 before, but I might bump back up with the actions that I'm looking at to a 7.4 medium or 7.4 medium light. we'll just have to see. So
if I go real light head in a small minnow, then I got a 7.6 medium light, because then that way I can still hit them at 100, 110 foot with a 16th ounce.
Yeah.
So like the spotted bass fisheries.
Yeah. So I fish polar opposite. The heavier, the better.
With the jig heads?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm throwing under a quarter, we're having a bad day.
Really?
Yeah, and I mean, even if they're 5 feet below the surface, because once it hits, I'll pull up to slow it down. And I know a lot of people are like that, but I feel like if you can land it right and they're roaming like that, they'll react to it. And it depends on the depth, right? Like ideally, but I barely ever go below a quarter. I mean, I will, so I'm not trying to sit here and say I don't,
Sure.
but like
Interesting.
if there's a size on my deck, I 85 to 90% of the time have a quarter. And depending on, even if they get down to 15 feet, sometimes, depending on how they're reacting, 3/8 to a half ounce.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like on Smith Lake, ping them straight on the head. Dunk, half ounce.
What jig head are you throwing with that half ounce?
So last year, there's one by Zorro, which is a tungsten screw lock. Because I was looking at the KJ Queen ones.
Yep.
And
I got a
Kyle
bunch of
Walter, he roomed with me on there, and the KJ Queen and that Zorro are identical, except for you get a screw lock and you get a Gamakatsu hook with the Zorro. So I just have faith in the Gamakatsu hooks.
Sure.
And the screw lock was nice, but the other one that I've been using a lot of, because I've been tungsten, the 26 round ball jig head by Gamakatsu. It's not screw lock. It's just regular. I mean, you could throw this hook on a bait caster and not bend it out, and it's stout. That pins them real good. And then Gussie's new hook with Northland, that's what I throw when we get up to a half ounce, and it's got a big fisheye on it. And I don't get fancy with, I'm all raw tungsten or lead color. I got a couple white here and there, but I don't get like over extensive with jig head colors. I do think it makes a difference sometime, not necessarily when you're using that heavy of a weight, but if you go lighter, to have an eyeball on it.
Sure.
The hook that Gussie switched to from before his one used to be a VMC. Now it's a Gamakatsu. And then basically, I just like the Gamakatsu hooks. I'm prone to them. Everybody, of course, has personal preference, but the whole setup that he's got going with that is nice. It almost mimics the dirty jigs. They're all very similar, except for his comes in 2/0, because I'm a big fan of using 2/0. The only time that I really, even on a baby Z2, I'm using 2/0. Where the guppy head and all that other stuff might only come in a 1/0 or a 3/0. Like that 2/0 is like perfect money, where it's not going too far in the tail and you're still getting back far enough. So if they short, you know what I mean? You're getting a better hook ratio in my mind. So like 2/0 is just probably the most ideal hook size for majority of baits, unless you're throwing like a 5-inch Sakamata shad or the drift fry, then I'll be into a 3/0 for sure. And I've still yet, I think the Gamakatsu one that I'm talking about, the 26 round ball 1/4 ounce 3/0, it's a hit between that and a screw lock, because if you're using those expensive ones, like they destroy. So I always keep your regular blue Loctite super glue, and I'll just glue them back together. But I'm still trying to find the best one to not cause it to split that, because like Sakamatas, they're a rare commodity that you cannot just grab that easy, but they freaking work. So I don't throw those. Like if practice sucks, I'll throw it just to like, okay, I could still catch them. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're saving these. Right. But then it's game day and they're all out. But like the baby Z2 is just as effective. It depends on how the fish acting. But the Japanese style minnow baits, the plastic is just insane how they are. And it's not a Lastec, and it's just something about it. I don't know exactly what's in it because I don't sit and research it, but you can grab it and the way it just wiggles and moves is different than any other bait. I mean, you can't compare it. I've gotten some of those Zoom fluked ones, and it's just a fluke with wings. The plastic didn't change any for the action, but if you're on that bite where they're reacting to it and you don't need as much flare, they'll work just as good too. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
but yeah, those other two are very potent weapons.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah, I got the what is it, the Range Rover or Range Roller owner
yeah,
jig head. I got those, the Queen Tungsten, then just obviously the owner ball head jigs. I got a bunch of those too. And then I just put an order of Black Label with Cliff and Tiffany Pace. They've got the new Hover Player Shad, the 4-inch one for scoping and for a chatterbait trailer. Check those out.
I didn't say that one on purpose.
But she sent me some of the primal heads that he helped design too. But yeah, that's a good one.
But I didn't
I gotta get a plug in there for Cliff.
Not
right?
everybody knows about that minnow. You know what I'm saying? That one, if you're on a shad lake, is identical to a shad.
Yeah, he actually took, like he said, over 1,000 measurements of different things. The way he designed that thing, it was pretty cool. Listening to him talk about how he did it. How he came
You're
up with that
talking
design.
about Black Label.
Yep.
Yeah, those are in my boat, 100%.
Yep.
So
yeah, those things are dead nuts on. So,
like I told you, I got stocking minnows. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, and I think everybody else does too, you know. But yeah, it's just, it is crazy how they'll react different to each one too. I mean, you could throw out the same fish and have 3 rods on deck with a different weight or something else, and that one may be that one that it eats. But some of these guys just chase them down with the same one and cast at a different angle or something else, and that works for them too. So, like I said, hopefully we can do more power fishing though. I'm ready to chunk and wind and fish my chatterbait how I like to, and hopefully I'll be able to do that on the first 2 tournaments at least, and then a few more after that, and we'll just see how the fish are setting up. Again, we've had a lot of cold temperatures down south lately, but the warming trend is popping back into the 75 to the 80s, so I don't think it's really going to cause a hiccup. We should be out of that once we're down there, hopefully.
Right.
So,
well, if all else fails, you'll just have to come to Madison to Mud Lake there in the first couple weeks of May and get your chatterbait out there and go to work.
Dude, you just go to Monona and find the fringe milfoil in 10 feet, and you will wreck the smallmouth on a spring craw chatterbait with the fire craw razor shad trailer. Oh, okay. And I mean, what was it? Was it last year when I did that? Yeah, I think, was it last year or the year before? And I fished a whole lake and I cracked the heck out of them, but I found a 150-yard stretch, and I would fish the outside slowly, go in because the wind was blowing towards me, drift back, and I was catching them drifting down towards that, and then I would circle back around. I went to find more areas, couldn't catch, went right back to that area, piss pounded them again. Left, went to go look for a new area, found some, no fish there. Went back to that area, piss pounded them. I must have caught like literally between 50 to 60 smallmouth out of a 150 to 200-yard stretch of grass. Just even coming back in one day. It was absolutely insane. All on chatterbait.
That's awesome.
All on chatterbait. So that's the best. It was super cold water still, so they weren't super fighting. But when you get them to load up, and it's, you know, like when you hook into a muscle, and it's just like that, and then you feel it, and it's like, oh yes, it's just,
just lean in, and you're like,
it's like singing harmony, catching smallmouth on a chatterbait. Yeah.
I caught him a couple years ago. We did that one Christie's bar tournament there, and I caught I had big fish. Now we got second or third or something like that. I caught him on a. I first got live scope, you know, and I'd never really used it there. Well, there's so many garbage fish and carp and who knows what in the air. And I see I was up on top of the ditch edge there, you know, like these 2 fish drop off the edge. I'm like, man, kind of look different than the ones I've been seeing, right? I let power pole down through my round trap out in 20 foot of water, let it sink all the way to the bottom, and I walked it up the hill like a football jig. Like halfway up, it goes dunk off the bottom, and it was a 6. I'm like, holy crap, you know, get the net, get in the net. I'm like, that was awesome. Throw it back out, make the same cast, same spot, like literally, like let it sit like a jig bite. Dunk, the line jumps. It was a 4.5. I'm like, holy crap. Throw it in the live well, throw it back out, next cast. Same spot, does it again. It was a northern, that was the end of that. But it was really cool for 2 casts. Trying something different. Never, you know, you're always working that edge out. I'm like, I'm gonna try, you know, come up on top, just like you said, changing the angle. Yeah, that was a blast that day. I mean, it was so many fish.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, yeah.
awesome, man.
Yeah, just keep in touch. We can see how the season goes and hop on here later and do another update or something.
For sure.
Absolutely.
After you win the classic.
After you win the classic, well, hey,
Right.
if you win the
I'll
classic,
take
We're
the
just
elite
gonna do
event
it.
too.
no,
But
we get first dibs if he wins the classic.
Yeah.
what's that?
The first podcast after you win the classic.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I'll hook you up because if I mean, like I told you, I don't like being turned down and no when I'm willing to do stuff for a lot of people, and it's not easy with sponsors these days. So
No, it's not.
oh yeah,
It's not.
no. If I win the classic or anything at that, you know what I mean. We can go from there, so
yeah, for sure.
Well, good luck, man. We're always pulling for you. We'll be at the classic too, cheering you on, working some different booths and things. So hopefully, I'm not talking with you on Sunday working a booth. Hopefully, you're in the cut there on day 3 and going for a win. So
yeah, that is what we're shooting for.
Awesome, man. Well, keep in touch and we'll see you around. Appreciate you hopping on.
You guys have a good night.
All right, thanks, man.